Alright everyone, so it's time for my F1 2025 driver and team predictions. Now, this video was supposed to come a few weeks ago, so apologies about that, but it has allowed me to make some changes because, a lot has happened in the past couple of weeks. We'll start with the two teams that we definitely know are not changing their lineups next year. McLaren, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri is pretty much going to be there for life after the fiasco with his contract. Lando Norris is also there on a long-term contract, so obviously he's putting his faith in McLaren. Whether or not McLaren will pay him back, we'll have to wait and see. Still not scored a podium, but they did, so they'll have to do a little better than they managed in Jeddah and Bahrain if they want to keep his services long-term. Ferrari, obviously we had that shock announcement that Lewis Hamilton was moving to Ferrari for 2025 to partner Charles Leclerc. So yes, obviously I think this is a good move for Lewis. Ferrari look very good this season, and there's probably not going to be too much change between now and 2026, as some teams already trying to focus on those 2026 regulations, making sure they can get the most out of the new sets of regulations instead of focusing on doing the most about this current generation of regulations. And obviously Lewis's seat at Mercedes is vacant, but I'm going to start with Red Bull because obviously there's a lot of rumours about Max Verstappen. Now, I'm going to predict that he will be staying at Red Bull for next season. Now, obviously, the Christian Horner situation, I don't know the content of what he said, but the fact of the matter is the FIA and Red Bull, it's clearly that they are trying to cover this up and it's not working. They actually need to investigate this properly and fairly and actually explain to the public their results, because otherwise this is not going to go away. Eventually these messages will be leaked fully. I have not seen them at this time. But yes, obviously Max still has some power because there were rumours that Helmut Marko was going to be sacked and then nothing happened. So yes, there's obviously a huge internal civil war going on at Red Bull, which I think Max will stay because, Helmut Marko is probably going to stay at Red Bull for the time being. So whether or not Christian Horner gets booted out as well, or whether they carry on with that fractious atmosphere, we don't know, but there's definitely not unity there. Now obviously there's a lot of talk alongside Verstappen previously, and I actually said in my 2024 predictions video that Sergio Perez was going to get fired in the mid-season. That's not going to happen at this rate because Perez is having a fantastic start to the season. He's not been on the front row yet, but he's getting there. His qualifying performances, he's not like being knocked out in Q2 like he was last season. He's finishing P2, he's comfortable in the races, and he's even challenging Verstappen. Not that gap isn't, it was a bit big in Bahrain. It was a lot less big in Jeddah. Maybe Perez can even challenge Verstappen at a track that Verstappen's not quite used to. Baku, for example, where he won as well. But yes, we'll have to wait and see. But for Perez, he's doing exactly the job Red Bull want him to do. And it's why I've had a change of heart. I think Perez will be at Red Bull next season alongside Verstappen. No change for Red Bull. Yes, Ricardo has also had a stinker at Jeddah. Pretty much, obviously team ordered Tsunoda out the way and then didn't get the place back in Bahrain. So yeah, we'll see how he gets on. But obviously it's Australia, and the Australian drivers are cursed when they're at an official F1 Championship Grand Prix of home race. I'll come to Mercedes then. I was going to go AlphaTauri, but I'll come back to AlphaTauri. But Mercedes then. So again, this is another team that I've got a change because, first of all, I do think that Russell will be potentially the future of that team now. As I said this before, but he's had a much better start to the season than Lewis. Can he get third in the championship? That would be good for him. I don't think he can. I think Ferrari will probably have too much. But if he can get fifth, basically he's looking to be up there and improving around that drivers and not be where he was last season, just sat in eighth, just in no man's land. If he's in it to win it, then he's got a long-term future at Mercedes. Kimi Antonelli is obviously the person that Mercedes want to put in that second seat, but he's not had the best start to his F2 career. He might not even be on the F1 grid this next year, which means that obviously they need somebody as a stopgap. Now maybe Lewis was unhappy with that. One person that could be happy with that is Fernando Alonso, especially if Antonelli is going to be 4 seasons. How much more has Alonso got in him? This is something that's come up since the start of the season. Have Aston really going to produce a better car than Mercedes? They had it last year, but it looks like, even though, despite Mercedes being worse and high-speed corners, they're not as good as Aston Martin. Obviously, Aston have got upgrades that are coming, but I think, will Alonso go to Mercedes? I think he could. The other choice is Albon. I think that Albon could also move, although he is contracted at Williams, but I don't think that contract is going to last. I think Albon will be on the move somewhere else. But I'm going to put Alonso at Mercedes. Yes, he'll enjoy that, and I think, it will give him a chance to show his best and show he can lead the way at Mercedes. It'll also be a very good test to see how George Russell, now he's established in that team, can he actually match Fernando Alonso when he comes in? So yeah, obviously, then this leaves a seat free at Aston Martin, and I'm going to say there'll be a complete driver change. Lance Stroll, I'm going to stick with this. Lance Stroll, it's not, he clipped the wall and he binned it basically in Jeddah. He's not in good form. There is a project for Aston Martin that's coming up in 2025 that I think Lance would be much better suited for, and it's the World Endurance Championship. It's less races, means he can go and enjoy playing some more tennis and do stuff like that. He's been in F1 long enough. I think he needs the change of scenery to reboot his career. Maybe even a good showing in WEC might bring him back to Formula 1 later on in his career, should somebody else move on. But for now, I think that he needs to regenerate his career, because he's just nowhere near the Lance that that was scoring podiums, got a podium for Williams, got some podium, took pole for Racing Point. He's nowhere near that level of performance right now. I mean, yes, the car is not there yet either, really. After struggles mid-season last year, they seem to have carried on for Aston. So this, obviously, driver one, Yuki Tsunoda. I do think that a lot of drivers will be moving ahead with so many out of contract. There'll be one thought of mine of 2026, and Aston Martin will have the best engine on the grid in the back of their car at that point, the Honda engine. If they can a good partnership between Aston Martin and Honda, they can really be in a good position. So they want to have Tsunoda, and I think Alex Albon alongside. I think some people have said Carlos Sainz might go there, but Sainz, I think, is better suited for another project as well, because obviously Sainz is coming also to the end of his career. Albon's sort of in the middle of his career, so yeah, I think Albon and Tsunoda, they can both get the best out of each other, work together and get that best out of Aston. So yeah, this leaves some seats. First at AlphaTauri. where I do believe that obviously, will Ricciardo stay? Will he go? Will they promote somebody else from F2? Zane Maloney has had a good start to the season. One of the seats will definitely be taken by Liam Lawson. We understand he's got some contract already to race next year for AlphaTauri, so I think he'll definitely be on the grid next year with AlphaTauri. It's just the question of who takes that second seat. Ricciardo will be a good match for Lawson, but if Ricciardo's really not in, he's starting to look like his 22 McLaren self again, then they might cut him loose and put somebody else in there, like a Maloney or somebody, or somebody else potentially in there from their junior program as well. Who have we got left? We've got Audi. Perfect fit for Sainz. His dad's got links with Audi from his rallying stuff. It allows him to go and do a bit of rallying, I presume, as well. There could be that good link up as well. And obviously Audi are targeting championships. It's a brand new engine. I think this could suit Carlos very well indeed. So I think Sainz will be at Audi and Nico Hülkenberg will be alongside him as well. That leaves us with Haas. Obviously, I did think that they could get rid of both Hülkenberg and Magnussen at one point, but I don't think that's going to happen because I think Ao Komatsu will keep one of the drivers, and I think Magnussen, obviously Hülkenberg, ticed away to Audi. Sauber, I should call them, because they will still be Sauber next year. I want to clarify that. Although Audi will have more and more influence on that team from next year. I think for Haas, obviously, Ollie Behrman, he's probably guaranteed to see. I know Komatsu's come out recently saying that they're going to look at it, but I think that he's probably guaranteed to see. Gets money off Ferrari engine, makes sense, especially the fact they're having less Ferrari personnel at Haas now, with Simone Resta's departure. As well, I think that it's a good place for Behrman to go, and Magnussen will be a good yardstick for Behrman. If he beats Magnussen, then that Ferrari are going to be having problems, because then they're going to have to have a look and get rid of one of their star drivers, really, or try and find him, as otherwise they could lose him to another Red Bull. As well, because they'll have some seats coming up, as well, and then obviously they could also lose into Mercedes, McLaren, anyone else really who has got a good car for 2026 and beyond. And I think that just leaves us with Williams, if memory serves me correctly, as well. Basically, I don't think Logan Sargent should be in F1. As far as I'm concerned, he is in such poor form. There's so much pressure to perform. It's 24-0 in qualifying. He's not even out qualified his teammate. He finished 21st in a 20 cars championship last season. Yes, he's not 21st. That position's currently occupied by Gasly. I just think that he needs to step away from F1 and go and race some stuff and get some more confidence, because again, he's just not performing well. Will Kimi Antonelli's season be rejuvenated as well? Possibly not. As well, I've forgotten Alpine. As well, which I need to talk about Alpine, because I'm going to put Ocon at Williams to replace Albon. It's a good move for Ocon because the Alpine car is dreadful. He's not really getting on at Alpine, he's not really getting his way. He wanted to be that team leader and he's just really not having it. Gasly's been more of the team leader role there. And I'm currently going to put Antonelli big asterisk, alongside at Williams. Yeah, that's a big asterisk. They could look for some other drivers as well. Enzo Fittipaldi, I believe, has had a good start to F2 season, but again, it's early days. We don't quite know what's going to happen. I say Antonelli, it would make sense he's placed at Williams. And Alpine, much forgotten about because they are dreadful as well. Yeah, I think Gasly will, he'll have no choice. He's got to stay with the team. And they kind of like having an all-French lineup. Théo Pourchaire is French. He's doing Super Formula this season as well. I think that he will be possibly that he will be a target for Alpine should one of their drivers leave. Definitely, Jack Doohan, who's their other reserve driver, isn't racing this year. Or officially, I don't think he's racing unless he's announced something recently. The last time I checked, he wasn't racing this year. Yeah. So, but that though is my 2025 driver and team predictions. I'm not going to try and predict the calendar because the last couple of times I did that, I've been terribly wrong. Sorry to say, I don't think we're going to see many changes anyway to the calendar. I think it's probably going to be, you might see a few like Miami and Baku, potentially Las Vegas not being a triple header at the end, but other than that, it's probably going to be minor changes. Oh, and of course, Australia's already been announced as the number one anyway, so they're going to swap. I think they'll swap the 3 opening rounds, and then Bahrain and Saudi will be rounds 4 and 5. Whether or not that actually happens will yet to be seen. But that's my quick prediction on the calendar. But yeah, if you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you see plenty more race week and F1 gaming content. Until the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks so much for watching, enjoy your day, and goodbye.